I haven't done a reading video in quite a while, actually. And I want to get people into reading books. Even I need to read more. I don't know I write my own books, but I have a huge collection of books to read through. And really, there's not really an excuse, is there? Because you can go through a chapter, and any book will take you a chapter, and you'll be done no more than half an hour, probably a lot less. So really, we should all be taking time to get through some books. This one, very specific. I've got a few of these mythology books. Two are very similar. One's an encyclopedia sort of one, so it's like alphabetical order. This one's more a narrative to the mythology. So I'm going to we'll start on chapter 2, just because I was flicking through the chapters. I like the title of this one. So this chapter's called The Two Great Gods of Earth. And straight away, it just got me like, wow, this is great. The Two Great Gods of Earth? Well, I'm going to listen. Anyway, that's literally what I thought, because there was another chapter I was going to do. I think it's chapter 5. I can't remember that one was specifically. For the most part, the immortal gods were of little use to human beings. Often they were quite the reverse of useful. Zeus, a dangerous lover for mortal maidens and completely incalculable in the use of the terrible thunderbolt. Ares, the maker of war and general pest. Hera, with no idea of justice when she was jealous, as she perpetually was. Athena, also a war maker, wielding the lightning's sharp lance quite as irresponsibly as Zeus did. Aphrodite, using her power chiefly to ensnare and betray. They were a beautiful, radiant company, to be sure, and their adventures made excellent stories. But when they were not positively harmful, they were capricious and undependable. And in general, mortals got on best without them. I'm having a real hard time seeing it through this microphone. It's like double vision, so just bear with me. There were two, however, who were altogether different, who were indeed mankind's best friends. Demeter, in Latin Ceres, the goddess of the corn, a daughter of Cronus and Rhea. I don't know this word. Dionysus, also called Bacchus, the god of wine. Demeter was the older, as was natural. Corn was sowed long before vines were planted. The first cornfield was the beginning of settled life on earth. Vineyards came later. It was natural, too, that the divine power which brought forth the grain should be thought of as a goddess, not a god. When the business of men was hunting and fighting, the care of the fields belonged to the women, and as they ploughed and scattered the seed and reaped the harvest, they felt that a woman divinity could best understand and help women's work. They could best understand her too, who was worshipped, not like other gods by their bloody sacrifices men liked, but in every humble act that made the farm fruitful. Through her the field of grain was hallowed. Demeter's holy grain. The threshing floor, too, was under her protection. Both were her temples, where at any moment she might be present. At the sacred threshing floor, when they are winnowing, she herself, Demeter of the corn-ripe yellow hair, divides the grain and the chaff in the rush of the wind, and the heap of chaff grows white. May it be mine, the reaper prays, beside Demeter's altar to dig the great winnowing fan through her heaps of corn, while she stands smiling by with sheaves and poppies in her hand. Her chief festival, of course, came at the harvest time. In earlier days, it must have been a simple reaper's Thanksgiving day, when the first loaf baked from the new grain was broken and reverently eaten with grateful prayers to the goddess, from whom had come this best and most necessary gift for human life. In later years, the humble feast grew into a mysterious worship about which we know little. The great festival in September came only every 5 years, but it lasted for 9 days. They were most sacred days, where much of the ordinary business of life was suspended. Processions took place, sacrifices were held with dances and song. There was general rejoicing. All this was public knowledge and has been related by many a writer. But the chief part of the ceremony, which took place in the precincts of the temple, has never been described. Those who beheld it were bound by a vow of silence, and they kept it so well that we know only stray bits of what was done. The great temple was at Eleusis, a little town near Athens, and the worship was called the Eleusinian Mysteries. Throughout the Greek world and the Roman too, they were held in a special veneration. Cicero, writing in the century before Christ, says, "Nothing is higher than those mysteries. They have sweetened our characters and softened our customs. They have made us pass from the condition of savages to true humanity. They have not only shown us the way to live life joyfully, they have taught us how to die with a better hope." So this page is going to be harder because the microphone's in the freaking way now. I'm going to try my best. And yet, even so, holy and awesome though they were, they kept the mark of what they had sprung from. One of the few pieces of information we have about them is at a very solemn moment the worshippers were shown an ear of corn which had been reaped in silence. In some way, no one knows clearly how or when the god of the vine, Dionysus, came to take his place too, at Eleusis side by side with Demeter. Besides Demeter, when the cymbals sound, enthroned sits Dionysus of the flowing hair. It was natural that they should be worshipped together, both divinities of the good gifts of earth, both present in the homely daily acts that life depends on, the breaking of bread and the drinking of wine. The harvest was Dionysus's festival too, when the grapes were brought to the winepress. The joy god Dionysus, the pure star, that shines amid the gathering of the fruit. But he was not always a joy god, nor was Demeter always the happy goddess of the summertime. Each knew pain as well as joy. In that way, too, they were closely linked together. They were both suffering gods. The other immortals were untouched by lasting grief, dwelling in Olympus, where the wind never blows and no rain falls ever, nor the least white star of snow. They are happy all their days, feasting upon nectar and ambrosia, rejoicing in all glorious Apollo as he strikes his silver lyre, and the sweet voices of Muses answers him. While the Graces dance with Hebe and with Aphrodite, and radiance shines round them all. But the two divinities of earth knew heart-rending grief. What happens to the corn plants and the luxuriant branching vines when the grain is harvested? The grapes gathered and the black frost sets in, killing the fresh green leaf of the fields. That is what man asked themselves when the first stories were told to explain what was so mysterious. The changes always passing before their eyes of day and night, and the seasons and the stars in their courses. Though Demeter and Dionysus were the happy gods of the harvest, during winter it was clear that they were altogether different. They sorrowed and the earth was sad. The men of long ago wondered why this should be, and they told stories to explain the reason. Demeter, Ceres. This story is only told in a very early poem, one of the earliest of the Homeric hymns, dating from the 8th or the beginning of the 7th century. The original has the marks of early Greek poetry, great simplicity, and directness and delight in the beautiful world. Demeter had only a daughter, Persephone. I don't know how to pronounce that. In Latin, well, same thing. The maiden of the spring. She lost her in her terrible grief. She withheld her gifts from the earth, which turned into a frozen desert. The green and flowering land was icebound and lifeless because Persephone had disappeared. The lord of the dark underworld, the king of the... These are some weird words. Multitudinous? I don't know what that even is a word. Dead carried her off when, enticed by the wondrous bloom of the Narcissus, she strayed too far from her companions. In his chariot drawn by coal-black steeds, he rose up through a chasm in the earth. Grasping the maiden by the wrists, he had set her beside him. He bore her away weeping down to the underworld. The high hills echoed her cry, and the depths of the sea, and her mother heard it. She sped like a bird over sea and land seeking her daughter. But no one would tell her the truth. No man, nor God, nor any sure messenger from the birds. 9 days Demeter wandered, and all that time she would not taste of ambrosia or put sweet nectar to her lips. At last she came to the sun. He told her all the story. Persephone was down in the world beneath the earth, among the shadowy dead. Then a still greater grief entered Demeter's heart. She left Olympus. She dwelt on earth, but so disguised that none knew her, and indeed the gods are not easily discerned by mortal men. In her desolate wanderings, she came to Odysseus, sat by the wayside near a well. She seemed an aged woman, such as in great houses care for the children or guard the storerooms. 4 lovely maidens, sisters, coming to draw water from the well, saw her and asked her pityingly what she did there. She answered that she had fled from pirates who had meant to sell her as a slave, and that she knew no one in this strange land to go for help. They told her that any house in the town would welcome her, but that they would like best to bring her to their own if she would wait. Or they went to ask their mother. The goddess bent her head in assent, and the girls, filling their shining pitchers with water, hurried home. Their mother, Mantanina, bade them return at once and invite the stranger to come. Speeding back, they found the glorious goddess still sitting there, deeply veiled, covered to her slender feet by her dark robe. She followed them, and as she crossed the threshold to the hall where the mother sat holding her young son, a divine radiance filled the doorway, and awe fell upon Metanira. She bade Demeter be seated and herself offered her honey-sweet wine, but the goddess would not taste it. She asked instead for barley water flavoured with mint, the calling draught of the reaper at harvest time, also the sacred cup given the worshippers at Odysseus. Thus refreshed, she took the child and held him to her fragrant bosom, and as his mother's heart was glad, so Demeter nursed Demophon, the son that Metanira had borne to wise Celeus. And the child grew like a young god, for daily Demeter anointed him with ambrosia, and at night she would place him in the red heart of the fire. Her purpose was to give him immortal youth. Something, however, made the mother uneasy, so that one night she kept watch and screamed in terror when she saw the child laid in the fire. The goddess was angered. She seized the boy and cast him on the ground. She had meant to set him free from old age and from death, but that was not to be. Still, he had lain upon her knees and slept in her arms, and therefore he should have honour throughout his life. Then she showed herself the goddess manifest. Beauty breathed about her, and a lovely fragrance, light shone from her, so that the great house was filled with brightness. She was Demeter. She told the awestruck woman they must build her a great temple near the town, and so win back the favour of her heart. Then thus she left them, and Metanira fell speechless to the earth, and all there trembled with fear. In the morning they told Celeus what had happened, and he called the people together, revealed to them the command of the goddess. They worked willingly to build her a temple, and when it was finished, Demeter came to it and sat there, apart from the gods in Olympus alone, wasting away with longing for her daughter. That year was most dreadful and cruel for mankind. Over all the earth, nothing grew, no seeds sprung up. In vain the oxen drew the plowshare through the furrows. It seemed the whole race of men would die of famine. At last Zeus saw that he must take the matter in hand. He sent the gods to Demeter, one after another, to try to turn her from her anger. Can't be right. Yeah. But she listened to none of them. Never would she let the earth bear fruit until she had seen her daughter. Then Zeus realized that his brother must give way. He told Hermes to go down to the underworld and to bid the lord of it let his bride go back to Demeter. Hermes found the two sitting side by side, Persephone shrinking away, reluctant because she longed for her mother. At Hermes' words, she sprung up joyfully, eager to go. Her husband knew that he must obey the word of Zeus and send her up to earth away from him. But he prayed her, as she left him, to have kind words, kind thoughts of him, and not be so sorrowful that she was the wife of one who was great among the immortals. And he made her eat a pomegranate seed, knowing in his heart that if she did so, she must return to him. He got ready his golden car, and Hermes took the reins and drove the black horses straight to the temple where Demeter was. She ran out to meet her daughter as swiftly as a Menad runs down the mountainside. Persephone sprang into her arms and was held fast there. All day they talked of what had happened to them both, and Demeter grieved when she heard of the pomegranate seed, fearing that she could not keep her daughter with her. Then Zeus sent another messenger to her, a great personage, none other than his revered mother Rhea, the oldest of the gods. Swiftly she hastened down from the heights of Olympus to the barren, leafless earth, and standing at the door of the temple, she spoke to Demeter. "Come, my daughter, for Zeus, far-seeing, loud-thundering, bids you. Come once again to the halls of the gods where you shall have honour, where you will have your desire, your daughter, to comfort your sorrow. Each year is accomplished, and bitter winter is ended. For a third part, only the kingdom of darkness shall hold her. For the rest, you will keep her, you and the happy immortals. Peace now. Give men life which comes alone from your giving." Demeter did not refuse, poor comfort though it was that she must lose Persephone, we don't know how to pronounce that, it's really strange, for 4 bumps every year and see her young loveliness go down to the world of the dead. But she was kind, the good goddess, Ben always called her. She was sorry for the desolation she had brought about. She made the fields once more rich with abundant fruit, and the whole world bright with flowers and green leaves. Also, she went to the princes of Odysseus, who had built her temple, and she chose one, Triptolemus, to be her ambassador to men, instructing them how to sow the corn. She taught him and Quetzalius and the others her sacred rites, mysteries which no one may utter, for deep awe checks the tongue. Blessed is he who has seen them. His lot will be good in the world to come. Queen of fragrant Odysseus, giver of earth's good gifts, give me your grace, O Demeter. You too, Persephone, fairest maiden all lovely, I offer song for your favour. In the stories of both goddesses, Demeter and Persephone, the idea of sorrow was foremost. Demeter, goddess of the harvest wealth, was still more than divine sorrowing mother who saw her daughter die each year. Persephone was a radiant maiden of the spring and the summertime, whose light step upon the dry brown hillside was enough to make it fresh and blooming, as Sappho writes, "I heard the footfall of the flower spring." Persephone's footfall, but all the while Persephone knew how brief that beauty was. Fruits, flowers, leaves, all the fair growth of earth must end with the coming of the cold, and pass like herself into the power of death. After the Lord of the Dark would below carried her away, she was never again the gay young creature who had played in the flowery meadow without a thought or care of trouble. She did indeed rise from the dead every spring, but she brought with her the memory of where she had come from. With all her bright beauty, there was something strange and awesome about her. She is often said to be the maiden whose name may not be spoken. The Olympians were the happy gods, the deathless gods, far removed from suffering mortals destined to die. But in their grief and at the honour of death, men could turn for compassion to the goddess who sorrowed and the goddess who died. Yeah, anyway, so it goes on to the next gods and things, but I thought that was pretty cool. Um, it's a lot to learn. Like I say, that's only a few pages, a handful of pages. We've got a lot to get through. And it's a really, 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 I think, high quality book. The materials are crazy. Like the pages are thick. It's just high quality, and it's definitely, I personally think, it's something anyone that's interested in sort of mythology or the past, like history. I mean, this is a book well worth having on your collection. It's nice, bulky. It actually got really nice presentation, and you can see the depth it's going. And that's only just one section of it. You know, very, very small section of a very deep book. The other one I was talking about is this one, which I might try. I might do a section of later next time. So they're very similar looking, aren't they? One's mythology. They're both mythology. So you've got mythology and you've got classical mythology, but this one's an A to Z. So, for instance, if you was really like interested, let's say you wanted Hercules or something, I'm sure we'll just find it under H. Hermione. Yeah, go Hercules. Found it straight away because I'm just looking for the letter H. It just starts off straight away. It says Hercules was the most important and best known of all the Greek heroes. His original Greek name Heracles means glory of Hera, being a combination of the Greek word for glory. Of course, there's a lot more we can go into deep there. And probably do that book next or something, you know. Like I say, you know, it's nice to get people, I think, reading books and find them interesting because there's a lot we can learn from them, from things that are like non-fiction, especially historical based, but then also fantasy and all sorts, you know. It just builds up knowledge and wisdom, and yeah, I think it just builds up intelligence, really, doesn't it? Makes us articulate as well. Anyway, like I said, I think I've neglected the reading section of my profile, really. I've done so much videos in other stuff, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to start trying to grab some books and start just reading some passages. You know, obviously, some videos will be better than others. That was a bulky book, which I've tried to put on this laptop stand just to give it some height. But of course, being that high is near us, right next to my microphone, so it's hard. But lower, it would have been hard to read it. It was incredibly big. I don't know. Yeah, it's just improvising at this point, but hopefully it was good enough. I don't know.